The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
The International Chamber of Commerce in Georgia did not attend the meeting of the Investors' Council under the Prime Minister this week. The reason stated by the ICC was the last-minute removal from the agenda of the issue regarding the arbitrary cancellation, confiscation of residency permits by the security services that, according to ICC, for years now has been the #1 impediment to foreign investment in Georgia. ICC stated that foreign investments in Georgia have been in total stagnation since 2013 due to the unfriendly attitude of the government towards foreign investors. Since years now, the Georgian Security Services have been systematically denying residency permits to a multitude of foreign investors, cancelling their residency permits arbitrarily without any justified reason after those investors would have invested in the country, which compelled many of them to leave the country, abandoning their investments behind them, according to ICC. Also, according to the ICC, this practice has gained Georgia a terrible reputation internationally. The International Chamber of Commerce is the largest business organization in the world that includes over 46 million businesses and 12,000 chambers of commerce. ICC consults regularly at the global level with the G7, G20, the World Bank, WTO, WCO, and the UN. Chairman of the ICC Georgia, Fady Asly, sat down with the checkpoints for the interview.
ICC did not attend the meeting of the Investors' Council that was held today. What was the reason for that?
Because we had requested to add to the agenda the problem that investors are facing regarding their residence permits and how many times those residence permits are not given, although they did invest money in the country as per the law, or how sometimes those residency permits are confiscated or just cancelled. And this has created a lot of problems over the years with investors. So we requested the Investors' Council Secretariat to put it on the agenda. And we had a couple of times talks, extensive talks, and they agreed to put it on the agenda for the meeting today with the Prime Minister. Yesterday, the Secretariat called our Secretary General, who called me and said that maybe they need to work more to get information. So they are ready for the discussion, which is totally irrelevant because we don't need much information. We know what's going on. But, you know, they just simply didn't want to discuss this issue. And this is not the first time, because during Gaharia's term, we also requested this to be on the agenda. They deleted it one day before the meeting. When Bakhtazi was Prime Minister, we requested it to be on the agenda. They also deleted it one day before the meeting. So it's obvious that they're not very keen to discuss this matter. And honestly, I don't want to go to the Investors' Council to discuss, I don't know, a manicure, pedicure, okay, and weather. We are there to discuss real problems that are impediments to the investment climate. And if those problems are not of interest to the government, then there is no need for us to attend the Investors' Council.
What is the mandate of the Investors' Council at this point, and does this mandate allow to speak about this very specific issues that may be in front of the investors, or is it more broader, so to say, about the reforms, about the reform agenda, like general economic I don't know, like trends? What is the mandate there? And maybe there should be some changes in the mandate of the
No, the mandate is very clear. We always discuss the issues pertaining to the investment climate. I mean, the mandate of the Investors' Council is to discuss the issues that affect investment in the country, whether those are strategic issues, whether they're legislative, whether they're punctual. We had very good meetings when Georgi, the former Prime Minister, before, I mean, in 2000 and between 2000 and 2000, Virikashvili, We had very good meetings with him, and many issues that were obstacles to investment, to foreign investment, were solved during his tenure as prime minister. After that, the Investors Council turned into like a bureaucratic structure that is kind of a department of the Ministry of Economy, okay? And you know, I mean, we're not there to just meet the prime minister and the minister from the economic teams and shake hands and show our nice tie and our nice suit. We are there to solve issues that are affecting the country. And I believe that the issue of the residency permits is extremely important because it has gained Georgia a terrible reputation within the spheres of foreign investors. No one wants to touch Georgia anymore. Georgia has gained a terrible reputation. It's perceived as a dangerous country for investment, as an unreliable one. And many investors had their residencies seized at the airport while they were landing, had landed in Tbilisi, and they were confiscated and they were returned on the same plane. It happened several times. And they left their investments behind them. I mean, how can you build confidence within the foreign investment community if the word of mouth is spreading so fast about how foreign investors are treated in Georgia? So this is like a fundamental thing. If this is not solved, you know, all other issues like smaller issues or, you know, promoting Georgia abroad. How can you promote Georgia abroad if you cannot guarantee for investors that they can work in the country?
One of the issues that has been discussed on this current Investors Council was also the EU candidate country status for Georgia. What type of issue is that, in your opinion? Is that a minor issue for this country at this point?
You know, Georgia will join the EU, if it joins the EU, as a wagon behind the locomotive that is Ukraine. It is Ukraine that will make Georgia join the EU. If at face value, looking at the performance of the government, at the state of the democracy, of the human rights, of the way foreign investors are treated, I mean, not even my grandchildren will see the candidacy of Georgia. So if Georgia joins is not because of its own merit. It is definitely because it will be a package deal, political deal to get Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. This is my opinion. Now, when it comes to paperwork, the Georgians are very good. This means they prepared good files, they made reforms that remain on paper. So on paper, we are good candidates. But practically, if you look at the situation on the ground, we are very far from being good candidates for it.
What is your expectation? Shall we get the status or not?
I tell you, either the three countries will get it or none of them will get it. This is my expectation. But I cannot predict, you know. I'm not Nostradamus, okay? But I believe that either the three countries will be in or none of them will be in. This is my opinion.
Yeah, you don't have a crystal ball, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, what, besides the residency permits that you just mentioned, what type of issues would you like to see on the agenda of the Investors Council in general?
I need to see a total change of attitude of the government towards foreign investors. The past 10 years have been the darkest period in Georgia for foreign investment. I cannot recall the number of foreign investors who were embezzled, racketeered, mistreated, defrauded by the court, by their partners, by the government. I mean, you know better than I do. And during the Saakashvili's time, the same bad things were happening to the Georgian businesses, but the foreign investors were very well treated. During this government, it's the opposite. We see the Georgian businesses that are taken care properly, and the foreign investors that are being very well handled. We would like to see a shift of 180 degrees from the government totally with instructions to the courts to judge impartially when foreign investors approach the courts or when they are sued, to the security services and to the border guards to respect foreigners when they arrive to Georgia, not treat them like cattle, which is the case now. So you need real political will. But to be very honest with you, I don't feel since 10 years that this government has any good political will or real political will to attract foreign investment in the country, except, you know, at the lower level of the hierarchy, like deputy ministers and lower who go abroad and who try to help Georgia as much as possible. But at the top, this is not happening. It's quite the opposite.
Galip Bozturk,
Yes.
the Turkish businessman in Batumi. What is your take on how that case had been handled?
I'll tell you, when this gentleman came to Georgia, his criminal record was longer than that of Al Capone. He was wanted in Turkey, and he was convicted for life imprisonment. And before that, 5-6 times, he had to go to court on embezzlement issues, on racketeering, on murder, on things like this. He came here and he got protected by this government. Not only he got protected, but he got granted Georgian citizenship. And now the winds have turned. Probably, you know, the people who were protecting him are upset at him. Maybe he didn't pay someone. And now they went and they found 3.6 grams of cocaine in his house, okay? So it's all a political thing. It's not that the guy was whiter than white. I mean, I'm even surprised how he was allowed to do business in Georgia in the first place in 2013 when he came here. I'm very surprised how he got his Georgian citizenship at a time super honest businessmen are being rejected for residency. But this is how things are done in Georgia.
Then to sum up our conversation, what would be your main message to the Investors Council today?
Work on the issues that are important for investment. Don't work on manicure, pedicure, waxing issues. This is my message. You know, I mean, there are fundamental problems within the investment climate. The attitude of the government towards the investors in hydropower, for example. How many of them have been totally defrauded from their investments because they couldn't carry on their investments after spending tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. Those are issues that need to be addressed. The attitude towards anaclia. This is an issue that the Investors Council should have worked on. And so on and so forth. At a time, you know, we look at the very small picture, the very small things, you know, about the Investors Council today is doing the work of the Ministry of Economy. That's it. The same issues that are worked on by the Ministry of Economy are worked on by the Investors Council. But no big pictures, no major issues, nothing that can improve the business climate. And if this Investment Council was any useful, we wouldn't be in this situation today, and we are at the same level as we were in 2012.
For example, Rothschild & Co is working on the strategy for Georgia, as the government is telling us about drawing trust funds to Georgia and turning Georgia into financial hub. Would that count as a fundamental issue for the Investors Council?
Look, when it comes to ideas and the big titles, we have been hearing a lot of them during the past 10 years. How long does it take to turn Georgia into a financial hub? If within 6-7 months the legislation is not in place and the investors are starting to come, this means nothing is happening.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.